By unanimous consent, the Senate now proceed to the en bloc consideration of the following Senate resolutions, which were submitted earlier today: S-Res 553, S-Res 554, and S-Res 555.
With that, the Senate passed an historic resolution recognizing American Muslims and their contributions to our nation. The House version of this resolution recognized past and present American Muslims, such as Yaro Mahmoud, the freed African-American Muslim slave who later became one of the first shareholders of the Second Chartered Bank in America, famed architect and designer Fazlur Rahman Khan, who designed the Sears Tower and the John Hancock Center, Dr. Ahmed Hassan Zewail, who won a Nobel Prize in chemistry, Muhammad Salman Hamdani, the New York City Police Department cadet who died heroically helping others in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, and perhaps the world's most famous American Muslim, boxer Muhammad Ali. These and other athletes, entrepreneurs, civil rights activists, religious leaders, academics, scientists, elected officials, and public servants help define who we are as American Muslims. CAIR will work to encourage passage of the House resolution, just as we did in the U.S. Senate. This effort to educate our fellow Americans about Islam and Muslims is just part of our mission to enhance understanding of Islam, protect civil rights, promote justice, and empower American Muslims. That mission is best illustrated through the impact it has on the lives of American Muslim women, men, and youth.
The cases we take where Muslims are denied religious accommodation at work, for example, their ability to pray, are typically very complex cases. They usually involve dozens of Muslim employees, are expensive to litigate, and take years to resolve. Our office has made a priority to take these cases because we believe that Muslims, like all other Americans, have a right to practice their religion at work. Thankfully, we have been able to successfully resolve these lawsuits and secure that right for members of our community.
CAIR's legal victories have not been limited to the workplace. This year, a federal judge in Alaska approved an agreement between CAIR and that state's attorney general that required Muslim inmates observing Ramadan be provided with adequate nutrition.
When prisoners are being forced to choose between their diet and their faith, that's unacceptable. So it is the policy of our organization to make an impact on as many lives in the American Muslim community as we can.
CAIR's intervention also led to the end of a police blockade of a Muslim-owned business in Virginia so that local Muslims could carry out obligations associated with Eid ul-Adha. Just one letter from CAIR made all the difference for the Muslim community.
A Muslim community in Northern Virginia says their holiday was almost ruined because of a dust-up with police.
The situation ultimately led the butcher to seek the help of the Council on American Islamic Relations.
We had our attorney working on it for months before. I mean, and all it took was this, a phone call and some pressure from CAIR. We had 500 people come in and do the sacrifice, so they wouldn't have been able to go upon their religious obligation.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
CAIR lawsuits helped a number of American Muslim citizens return home after being barred from their own country by the Muslim ban, being placed on the no-fly list, or subjected to unwarranted detentions after being placed on a watch list.
We continue to file lawsuits for local Muslims who are on a secret government watch list and are unable to get any government benefit, including immigration benefits. This year, we were successful in resolving each of these lawsuits, and we were able to help these local Muslims get their citizenships and also help Muslims stuck abroad reunite with their families here.
In the last year, CAIR received more than 2,500 reports of anti-Muslim discrimination, bias, threats, and violence. That is a marked increase over past years. Hate crimes also spiked since the 2016 election. Increasingly, those impacted by growing Islamophobia nationwide include Muslim youth. According to CAIR's research, more than half of Muslim students face bullying because of their faith, ethnicity, or national origin. CAIR is working to stop that bullying and to help parents protect their children.
We've seen some serious incidents of bullying against Muslim youth in Central Ohio as well. This is an issue we take very seriously. Research has shown that Muslim youth experience bullying differently from their peers. For example, we know 25% of the bullying against Muslim youth is actually perpetrated by their teachers. To address this issue, we held an anti-bullying conference to help educate and empower our youth and their parents. We've even lobbied the state legislature to include protective language in House Bill 360 to prevent teachers from bullying their students.
With increasing hate rhetoric targeting Muslims, CAIR's political and civic empowerment is not limited to youth. Each year, CAIR chapters nationwide host Muslim Day at the Capitol events around the country.
The goal was simple: to be heard, something that doesn't always happen as a marginalized group. Biased policing, low wages, and gun safety topped the list of things Muslims were at the Capitol to talk to lawmakers about.
This past year, for our state Capitol Day in downtown Columbus, we had almost 120 attendees engage in nearly 50 legislative meetings. This day is important because it sends a message that as Ohio Muslims, we're engaged, we have rights, and we're going to stand up for our fellow Ohioans that need us.
This year, some 400 delegates from 28 states met with more than 250 elected officials and congressional staffers during National Muslim Advocacy Day on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., co-sponsored and coordinated by CAIR.
CAIR-Columbus participated in the 2018 National Muslim Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C., so that we could meet with our federal legislators to voice our concerns about the Muslim ban, the unconstitutional watch list, and the various other issues impacting our community.
So as Muslim Americans, it is imperative that we are part of advocating for our own selves and being able to tell our own narrative and pushing policy that matters to us and to our community. I'm honored that I was part of the Ohio delegation over the last 2 years for Muslim Advocacy Day, and last year was able to bring in a group of youth that felt very empowered to be part of a movement where delegations came in from coast to coast to be able to speak with their legislators and advocate on their own behalf.
Every day, the Government Affairs Department is scanning legislation and policy at the local, state, and federal level. Not only are we educating Muslims on these issues, but we're empowering them through action alerts, policy fact sheets, and arranging meetings so they can meet with these elected officials and let them know what the voice of the Muslim community wants.
CAIR has also launched a nationwide training program with the goal of helping 200 American Muslims to run for office in 2020. Just hours after the Trump administration's cruel policy of separating families at the border was made public, CAIR held an event outside a Virginia facility holding children torn from their families.
CAIR-Columbus was proud to be a lead organizer of the action in Columbus against the Trump administration's policy of family separation at the southern border. As American Muslims, we recognize that our rights depend on the rights of all communities in America. And when one community comes under attack, we cannot sit idly by.
Where they come from, and a country that unequivocally says no hate, no fear, immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear, immigrants are welcome here. No hate.
As the needs of the community grow, so does CAIR. Since last year, CAIR has doubled in size. We have added more than 20 full-time civil rights attorneys since the election of Donald Trump. New publications outlining hard facts and data about American Muslims and their civil rights are being issued regularly. Our ongoing monitoring of anti-Muslim hate groups and Islamophobic public officials or policymakers resulted in swift pushback against haters and bigots.
We're continuing to see the American Muslim community in Central Ohio targeted simply because of their faith. This past year alone, we were contacted over 200 times with issues of discrimination. CAIR-Columbus will continue to work every day to make sure that members of our community can practice their religion free from worry.
The United Nations even rejected an Islamophobic Trump administration nominee for a UN migration post after CAIR called for the withdrawal of his nomination. Hundreds of CAIR staff, board members, and volunteers around the nation are working every day to ensure a brighter future for the American Muslim community. This important work needs to be carried out by a solid institution. These civil rights cases will not resolve themselves. Community members targeted by discrimination cannot represent themselves. CAIR is the only organization that fulfills this important role for the community. We are growing nationwide. You count on us to defend you and your family. Can we count on you? Please support CAIR generously. Thank you.